Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is a quick review of Game Week 23 and then a preview of Game Week 24 with a real focus on sort of my transfer thoughts moving forward. There's loads of blanks and double game weeks coming up, depending on which players you've got in your team. So let's get into it. And first of all, we're going to have that review of 23. And as my team gets on the board, I think what a fixture last night. We had Arsenal versus Man City. And in terms of FPL returns for me, it was pretty incredible, having Saka, De Bruyne, Nketiah and Haaland all returning. Had some massive hauls this game week, and I actually got 39 points just from last night alone. Which meant I went from a small red arrow of about 60k to about a plus, green arrow of about 300k, which is actually my seventh green arrow in a row since the World Cup, which is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, moving in the right direction. And hopefully, if we can keep this momentum going, there's still enough game weeks in the season to actually get a quite respectable rank. So yeah, I obviously swapped Forster in for Ward, which was a bit of a rush of blood to the head, to be honest. At the time, I thought, oh, Forster's playing for Spurs, get him in, get the Spurs keeper in, and then they went and conceded 4 goals. But you live and learn, and that's only 3 points at the end of the day. So the fixtures moving forward for this game week, and in terms of captaincy, I think it's hard to look past Erling Haaland, really. Um, Forest have Man City at home. And I think the other fixtures for teams that you might captain from, like Arsenal, Man United, Spurs, Liverpool, they're all pretty tough, to be honest, or at least they're not as easy as Man City's fixtures. You've potentially got the rotation of players like Haaland and De Bruyne for the Champions League, but I think, to be honest, you go with it and just ride it out. I would maybe give a vice captain from someone from a different team, maybe a Rashford. I think that's probably a good shout. So moving on to the transfer talk, and just to give a bit of context here, I've got two free transfers to use, so I do have to use one of them if I don't want to lose it. And I've only got 0.1 mil in the bank, so I do want to try and shift on blanking defenders or players really to guaranteed fixtures. But I'm also super aware of looking too short term and getting stuck with bad options with bad fixtures just because they're playing and then having to transfer them out again in the future and using two transfers, one to get them in, one to get them out. So I think you do have to be aware of getting caught up with, worrying about all your blank game week players. I think you can plan around it, roughly, but I think just because somebody's got a fixture doesn't mean they're a good option. Like if you get them in for this game week and then they're just going to ride your bench, was it worth the 4 points that you'd spend on a transfer? Because obviously each transfer is kind of worth 4 points. That's what it would be if you're having a hit. My main option to get out is De Bruyne, even though he scored and assisted last night. Due to just not having too much in the bank, and I'm a bit concerned about his overall value. He is really expensive. So option number one is De Bruyne and either Martinez or Dan Burn out and to Salah and Kilman this game week, which would give me 0.1 mil in the bank and a team that looks like that. And a pro of this would be buying into double game week 25. I'd be getting rid of one blanking defender, um, and I'm not a massive fan of Man United and Newcastle's fixtures. Um, Probably prefer Man United's fixtures to Newcastle's, but I would also avoid the price rises in Salah and like I've just said, De Bruyne is not necessarily worth the price, although he's got 4 goals and 13 assists. Is the better value elsewhere? The negatives of this is that I do miss out on Man City versus Forest, and then in game week 25, Man City do also play Bournemouth, which is quite a good fixture as well, compared to Salah versus Newcastle this game week. I don't really want Salah mid to long term, so I'd be getting him in for, again, like we talked about, those two transfers, one to get him in, one to get him out. I could just do Martinez to Kilman or Dan Burn to Kilman in this game week. Wolves do double in 25, so that would be getting two fixtures instead of zero for that game week. Option number two, what we have here is, sorry, De Bruyne. De Bruyne again to Odegaard, and that would give me 5.5 million in the bank, and my team would then look like this. A positive from this one is that Arsenal have great fixtures. They've now got Villa, then a double, Bournemouth, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Leeds in the next 6 game weeks. I do also want to move off Nketiah to either Tony or Mbuemo, and this would give me the funds to upgrade to Tony after game week 25. And I'd just be using one transfer, and it'd give me a bit of flexibility for the future game weeks when we have more information. I think you have a lot of, videos that I've seen sort of saying, if this happens, then these guys will blank, and if this happens, these guys will have a double game week. And obviously, they're also saying you can't necessarily wait um, and see all the time. You can't just predict and make your transfers on what might happen. You can only really go on the information you've got at the time. So buying more time will obviously be a good option. And if I do plan on getting rid of Nketiah, having Odegaard in the team as well will still give me double Arsenal attack. The negatives are the same issues as option one in terms of missing out on the Man City fixtures really short term. You might argue that De Bruyne gets rested for the Champions League again, but again, until that happens, it's not really something I can control. Man City also have a fixture in 25, so it would give me 6 blanking players as it stands for game week 25 and a sub goalkeeper who I couldn't really do anything about on top of that. So this could be reduced to 4 blanking players using 2 more free transfers next week. So that could maybe offset that a little bit, but I'm still not sure on this one really where we're gonna go in terms of option two. The final option for option three would be Martinez and Dan Burn out this week to Kilman and Tarkowski, and then in game week 25 I could go um, De Bruyne to Salah, and then for game week 26, I could go from Salah to Odegaard, and that would then mean I could potentially go from Nketiah to Tony in game week 27. Um, I mean, it would make my team look like this. The positives would be I'd be swapping 2 defenders with a blank for 2 defenders with doubles in game week 25. It'd give me a bit more time to sort of think about whether I want to get rid of De Bruyne. And like I said, I've kind of planned out future transfers all being well, and it all seems to work out. It would give me 10 playing players in game week 25 with 5 double game week players, which is pretty good to be honest. I think with quite a few big teams blanking, and would allow me still to have some input in the Newcastle, Man United, and Brighton players without having too much of a hit on my team. Possible negatives from this is again, maybe a sideways move to get Salah in for 1 double just to get him out again, but it would buy me time to consider that a bit more. I do question how good Salah is when I could just go straight to Odegaard in 25 and save a transfer long term, which would then allow me to uh, build up some transfers in order for future blanks and doubles. And if I'm going Odegaard instead, I wouldn't need to take out 2 defenders to free up funds, but like I said, I probably would still do it for the fixtures. So I'm leaning towards option number three at the moment. The team, without making any transfers, looks like this, and it's a pretty good game week. Again, if I'm being honest, I think if I was to go with option three and get the 2 defenders in, I probably would swap out Trippier this game week. I think if Newcastle are conceding to Bournemouth and West Ham in the last two, they're probably going to concede to Liverpool as well. And having those sort of defenders that I'm a bit more sure of might help if someone like De Bruyne is benched this game week and then maybe doesn't come on. I think it's probably likely that De Bruyne and Haaland do start against Forest and then they're taken off early. If they're kind of that 3-0 up at half time that they probably hope to be. So hopefully, if that is the case, they'll have been involved in some attacking returns. But let me know what you think. Let me know which option you think I should go with. Hopefully, it's helped you out with some of your transfer thoughts as well. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. I really appreciate the likes on the videos recently, and having over 50 subscribers still, I just think is really cool. So thank you very much for that. It is appreciated. And good luck in your game week, and I will see you in the next one.